Hello everyone, my name is Thuong and today I'm making this video in order to help you guys know more about a definition in photography. It is aperture. So in my video they will have three parts. The first part is the definition of aperture. The second part is about effect of aperture on other elements in photography, and the last part is some tips to set aperture in some kind of photos. So first of all, the definition. What exactly aperture? Aperture refers to the opening of the lens diaphragm through which the light passes. It is calibrated in f-stops and is generally written as much as number such as 1.4, 2, 2.8, 4, 11 or 16. The lower f-stops give more exposure. It means that because they represent the larger aperture, while the higher f-stop will give less exposure. It means that it represents smaller aperture. It may be a little bit contradictory to you, but it will be much clearer when you really take photos with varying f-stop. Try it. Okay, and the second part is how aperture affects other elements in photography. And the first element is the depth of field. So the depth of field is the yawn of the acceptable sharpness in front of or behind the subject on which the lens is focused. To be more simple, the aperture will affect the sharpness, how sharp and how blurred is the background or your subject. Excuse me. Sorry. The lower f-stop, it means the larger the opening in the lens. It means the less depth of field and the background will be blurred. In contrary, the higher f-stop, it means the smaller of the lens and the greater the depth of field and your background will be sharper. And as you can see, there are two examples I show. The first picture is the aperture is only f2.8, so it means the less depth of field, and as a result the background is blurred. Meanwhile, in the second picture, the aperture is f11, the more depth of field, so the background is sharper. So in addition to the depth of field, the aperture also affects the shutter speed. Using a low f-stop means more light is entering the lens, and therefore the shutter does need to stay open as long to make correct exposure, which translates into a faster shutter speed. Again, the reverse also true. Using a high f-stop, it means that it will less light entering the lens, and therefore the shutter will need to stay open a little longer, which translates into a slower shutter speed. You see that aperture is very important, right? And now I'll show you some tips to take picture to set aperture in some kind of photos. First of all, aperture for portraits. All of us want to take a photo like a portrait right of the other. So for classic portraiture, we separate the subject from the foreground and the background by using the selective focus. Choosing a large aperture, or it means low f-stop like f2.8, creates very shallow depth of field which only subject or just a portion of your subjects in focus. This helps direct the viewer's attention to your subject. And secondly, aperture for landscape photography. When choosing lenses for landscape photography, we usually want to see as much detail as possible, right? From background to foreground and so on. We want to achieve the maximum depth of field by choosing small aperture. It means higher f-stop like f11 and so on. And finally, aperture for intermediate depth of field. While we can get the maximum or minimum depth of field by working at each and at the end of the aperture range, sometimes you want a more intermediate level depth of field, limiting focus on specific range of distance within the overall photograph. One way to do this is to choose the mid-range or f-stop like f5 or 6 and shoot a test ring. So that's the end of my video today, and I hope that my video can help you guys to know more, will be useful for you to know more about the aperture, which I wish you can have a really amazing photos. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.